I really was surprised at how the Charlie Kirk assassination affected us so deeply. And by us, I'm talking about my family. All of us were very affected by it. None of us followed his content. We weren't members or followers of Turning Point USA. We never dialed in ever that I can recall to see what Charlie Kirk had been saying. All of us just incidentally saw his content on our feeds. We knew what he stood for. We knew he was a very good person. We knew he was a moderate conservative, and we really liked him, but we weren't mated to his project. And yet, when he was murdered, it was like losing a very close family member. Did you feel that same way? Do you now feel that same way? I've seen a lot of reels in Instagram of people mentioning this. Like, why am I so deeply affected by Charlie Kirk's death? I mean, I didn't follow him. I knew of him, just like me. They knew of him. They liked him. They thought he was a great fighter in the cause of conservatism, in righteousness, and in overall good. But they never felt like that Charlie was their guy. And yet when he got killed, it's like the rug was pulled out from under them and us. Why is that? Why this death? Why this assassination? Why did it affect, I will say, millions of people in a good way? Because I think a great awakening is happening with a lot of people. A turn towards righteousness, a turn towards goodness. Charlie is, as I said on my previous videos, a martyr. Everything that has happened already is proving that, as will the years to follow. But why is it? Why does it affect you and I so deeply? I thought about this in a spiritual context, and I think that's where the answer lies. And it lies in our spirituality. While we may be imperfect, all of us are, we're sinners, all of us are, we do have our sights set on Christ. We do try to live a life that is pleasing unto Jesus Christ. And we recognize in Charlie a brother in Christ. And with his passing, especially in such a clear-cut evil way, where evil won in that moment, it really struck us in our hearts. And it verified what a lot of us had feared, had known about, and now it comes to fruition. We didn't know it would be Charlie, but we knew that evil will be manifested in these latter days, and it has been and will continue to be. I think that's why, though. I think that you and I are connected to God in one way or another. And I think that a spiritual thread runs through all of us. And so when one of our key leaders is taken out like that, I think the heavens mourn. And I think in some ways God mourns. That's my opinion. And actually all this video is my opinion on actually 10 ways I think CKA, the Charlie Kirk assassination, will never be forgotten. It will be a touchstone event. It will influence things that have not even happened yet. And people will refer back to this. And I don't want to say that he was this super important world leader. He wasn't. But he was, as I think most of us perceived him, a young, good, righteous individual fighting the good cause. And he integrated, and one of my points I'll talk about this, he integrated Scripture, the preaching of Jesus Christ, which, and if you're an atheist, I'm sorry, I just, for years now, I've been very open about my belief in Jesus Christ. No apologies. I'm just like Charlie that way, have been for years and years. And I think that's where peace lies. I think that's where true happiness lies. I think that's where forgiveness lies. And this is where protection lies as well. Speaking of which, you might say, well, why wasn't he protected by Christ? And I hadn't really thought of this. It's not in my notes. I don't really have any notes. The answer, I think, is because our Father in heaven, God the Father, lets our mortal events unfold as they unfold. And remember, his perspective is not our perspective. We see things very short term. God the Father does not. He sees things long term, in millennia. And sometimes his purposes are very perplexing to us of why he gives even evil men freedom of agency to do what they do. But that's necessary in this world because you have to have good versus evil. You have to have people do what they do so they can be held accountable before the judgment bar of Christ, which we all shall be. He will not interject in man's affairs, generally speaking. I won't say he never will. Sometimes he has. There's biblical examples of this. He will in the future, but it will serve his purposes. So why did he allow this to happen? I really don't want to frame it this way, but with CKA, there's been a lot of good that has come about. And I mentioned a spiritual awakening, and maybe you feel this too. I hope this is durable. I hope it affects millions upon millions of people as time goes on. I hope it's not an event that's quickly forgotten. And I hope, again, that it affects people for many generations to come as they learn about it and learn how it transpired. That's what I feel. So free agency trumps all, as it should. And so God's not going to send angels down from heaven to interfere with man's affairs and constantly interrupt what's going on. It just wouldn't work. I mean, we're here in this mortal world, free agency. There's good, there's evil. That's the way it's set up. And people have to be held accountable. Souls have to be held accountable for what they've done. And if they were prevented from doing that, then they could come before the judgment bar of Christ saying, hey, I was charged as if I was guilty and I never did this. And so it's kind of like in the court of law that there has to be evidence. Getting heavy on you, sorry. In this video, I'm going to go over a tweet I did. And so 2 things I'll ask of you. Well, actually 3. Wherever I post this, please hit subscription, hit the notification bell. Also in Rumble, subscribe to Nut and Fancy in Rumble. And check back there frequently. I'm still waiting for you guys to come over there. I mean, the view numbers over there are paltry. That's why I don't post a lot there. I'm hoping that changes. Also subscribe to Nut and Fancy in X, Twitter. Because this is where I posted this. And guys seem to like it. I don't really know how I came up with this. I just did. It was basically the 11th of September, I believe, is when I posted it. One day after Charlie Kirk was murdered. I said, the Charlie Kirk assassination, CKA, will never be forgotten. It is a touchstone event that will forever shape upcoming events. Here's why. I did print out my tweet. This is it right here. So you guys can go screenshot the tweet. It'll give you maybe some talking points when you discuss this event with your friends. And I want to say, I'm not saying I'm correct on anything. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on anything that has transpired. I will give you my thoughts. They are heartfelt. They're as pure as I can make them before God as my witness. And that's really all I'm trying to do. All I'm trying to do in life is just defend good. Really, that's all I'm trying to do. I don't think I'm as effective as Charlie was. He was much more influential than I am. But I think we're on the same team, definitely. I think our purposes are completely in line. I think our tactics are very similar. Number one, this is why I feel like it's a pivotal societal event that will not be forgotten. Number one, Charlie Kirk was actually a moderate who was willing to engage in logical conversations and peaceful debate. He was respectful to his ideological opponents, and he was murdered for this. Something I should have put in there, I didn't, is yes, he was murdered for that, but he was mostly murdered for his influence over young people. That the matrix, the secret combinations of this world, the evil doers of this world, they did not like that CK was red-pilling these individuals, bringing them over to the conservative cause, many of them having voted for Trump, This was unacceptable to them, and that's why they went to the next highest level. And yes, I do say they, not he. I'll get to that. So yeah, he was murdered for what he did, but also his influence, which was wildly effective. Even to a moderate head-up-ass normie, HUAN, that's my acronym, and that's a lot of people in the world. They just don't pay attention, nothing. But even to a Huan, it confirms the left chooses murder over reasoned discussion. Reels and Instagram are talking about this, that you killed the only, only is probably a stretch, probably hyperbole, but you killed one of our key proponents for logical debate. I think Charlie was better than me in this way because I don't feel that a lot of people on the left are debatable. You can't reason with them. They're not logical. And I'm probably wrong in this. And Charlie proved it, is that if you would stand toe to toe with people, not get angry, not use insults, and just use logic. And I always felt when I watched Charlie Kirk talk, there was a caring in his approach. Not a hate, not a disdain for the person, but really trying to help that person understand truth. And that's really what we're all about, right? We seek truth, we embrace truth. And I think CK did a great job of that. He's better at it than I am because I feel like my words are wasted. That once a person is taken over by certain, let's just say darkness, and I don't mean like demonic or anything, but that they cannot perceive nor do they seek truth. Sometimes there's no breaking through to them. And you had an individual doing this, and now he was murdered.
It has just been announced that Charlie Kirk has been pronounced dead. Liberal fucks, Looney Tune motherfuckers that's out there trying to prove something. They can't appreciate greatness. Bunch of fucking weirdos. Liberals are the only ones that incite violence and have been inciting violence the last decade. Why did y'all do this? Why? The man did not do anything but educate. Family man, 31 years old. The way you took him out was uncalled for. Then you got people on the internet right now jumping in joy because of this. You all disgust me. You disgust me.
This is one reason the CKA will never be forgotten. That he was not an extremist. He was more middle of the road in most of his ideologies. He would actually block far-right extremists, whatever in the heck that means, from attending his rallies, or so I was told. And yet he was murdered. Number 2, and this is a good one. The video is graphic. Not good in that it was, I'm not saying in good, but I'm saying that it's memorable. It's better said. The video is graphic. Graphic videos like this will never be forgotten. They burn into people's memory banks. It will circulate forever, influencing millions of people, some of which have not been born yet. It's not a blurry JFK assassination video. It is clear from multiple angles. People can see graphically exactly what happened. That video will be out there forever. Kids who have not been born yet will see it. They'll learn about it, hopefully from good parents. Hopefully in a sense of warning. This is what evil's about. This is what they do. This is a hypocrisy of evil. I'll get to that. And when I said it's a good thing, that's the wrong choice of words. It's a horrible thing. But a better way of saying it is unequivocal. Unequivocal that you had an evil doer, whoever the shooter was or shooters were. It is unequivocal what they were trying to do and what they accomplished, and that it was a political assassination to destroy the First Amendment, to destroy free speech, to destroy free thought, to destroy free agency. There's that word again, that phrase again. The key concept of why we are here on this earth, free agency, to choose either good or evil. Compulsion is of the devil. Any agency, persons, people, political parties that compel are also of the devil. It's that simple. I will never back off on that. I will never apologize for that, because I don't say things to impress a human audience. I say them to impress and hopefully please a God, my God. That's all I'm trying to do in my own imperfect, non-AI enhanced way, which this video is. It's no AI, it's just me. Human produced. Number 3, it was in broad daylight. A political assassination with clear-cut evidence of the hypocrisy of the left. They demand banning of firearms and assault weapons, and yet happily use them to assassinate their enemies. What a clear-cut example of the hypocrisy of the left. Now, let me interject this. I was going to address it later, but in the aftermath of the CKA, the Communist Party feeds, you might know them as the mainstream media, NBC, KSL, CBS News, MSNBC, all of them. They have narratives out there trying to obfuscate, confuse the issue, trying to make it seem perhaps the shooters, and again, I'm going plural, I'll tell you why, were not on the left. They might have been a far right. That's a lie. They weren't. As are a lot of things I believe you've seen so far in the aftermath. Think JFK. The lone gunman theory is a very convenient way to rationalize a political assassination and to brush it under the carpet so there's not any questions asked. That's what they did with JFK. And if you've done any research on the JFK assassination, you know, most likely, I cannot say absolute definitively, but most likely it was not Lee Harvey Oswald. And definitely he had agency support. This might be exactly the same situation. I'll mention that in my post-point talking points. Yeah, so banning of firearms. And yet the left is predisposed to violence, unlike the right. You know my term upside down of right? This is another great example. Take whatever's right, proper, correct, and true, turn it on its head, and that's what you have in our today's world. That's what you have with all the leftists, is they act like they are the party of hope and change, open-mindedness, peace and love, when exactly they're the opposite. Turn each one of those in its 180-degree reciprocal, and that's what they're about. They are the party of hatred, of murder, of violence. Now proven. That's my point. That CKA, in this point number 3, it was in broad daylight, a political assassination with a firearm. The very thing they say they hate, they loathe, and that people shouldn't have, that's what was used. Even though there could have been a dozen different ways that could have been affected. Interesting. That's a whole different talking point. Number 4, it is a war cry for Z-Genners and those that follow. It is the ultimate I told you so moment for them. They will refer to this event when future events happen. The CKA. If you don't know, I said it in previous videos, the generations coming up are extremely conservative. They feel like they have been impugned, chastised, criticized, blamed for every societal problem there is. White teenagers, white young men have been blamed for everything. They're told they're racist, too masculine. They're hated by their schools, by their occupations. They're not hired for jobs because of their skin color, usually white. They're just fed up. And then you have a person they looked up to, and again, maybe like us, they followed CK, maybe they didn't, but they knew of him, they knew what he stood for, and now he's blasted. And now they're pissed. And they had been talking about this in their chat rooms for a long time, about the problem with the Matrix. And then you have this very clear-cut example that supports their viewpoints that they've already held. How do I know this? Because I know many, many people in that generation. Let's just say that. I won't mention names, but I know many people in that generation, both my viewers and in other places. I talk to them in depth about these issues. I'm a boomer. So, I'm the evil boomer, right? But Z-Geners, the generations to follow, will remember CKA. They will use it as a touchstone event for what will probably follow. It will never be they'll never forget it. It's burned in their memory banks. They've all downloaded the video and all support videos as well. I guarantee you this is how it's going. Number 5, it shows how far the left will go to prevent the freeing of minds from enslavement to the progressive cause. It shows without equivocation that they want you dead and have no problem making sure it happens.
My choice! My choice! My choice! My choice! My choice! My choice!
Now, some people who are not familiar with how poignant I speak, how I do not hold back, may be shocked at this one. Go, what? That's pretty strong. Well, I do feel that way, and I think a lot more people do as well. I think a lot of people maybe just 1 week ago would not have felt that way. They would think that's an extreme take, that the left would assassinate people who disagree with them. And again, Charlie Kirk was an influencer. He was a public opinion a public opinion shaper. And so for that, he was taken out. Now, again, without equivocation, you have an example of how that happened. Again, you're going to have a lot of smoke screens come out from the media as they try to confuse people, tell them that it was actually a Trumper that did this and all these other lies. Don't believe any of that. And I don't think many people do. I think most people know what side it came from. It's pretty clear.
Look at how they report the Charlie Kirk story after it happened, and then give it 24 hours and how they report on it today.
Following breaking news from the United States, prominent conservative commentator Charlie Kirk has been shot at an event in Utah.
So catch that. After it happened, prominent conservative commentator Charlie Kirk has been shot. Hear that? Prominent conservative commentator. 24 hours later. Let's have a look, see how they describe one, shall we?
Still ahead, the latest on the killing of far-right activist Charlie Kirk in the U.S. Investigators have released images of a person of interest.
It's just so egregious and in your face at this point. Far-right activist. Very different from prominent conservative commentator. And if I'm being honest, out of all the conservative commentators in the States, he was probably the most milquetoast out of all of them. There are so many others that you could go after, but Charlie Kirk, if you want to throw around the label of problematic, Charlie Kirk was definitely problematic for the left. But in terms of conservative stances, he had the most mainstream stances of them all. So to turn around and say, far-right activist, that is the media trying to frame this in a specific way so as you stop feeling empathy for what happened on Wednesday.
Even though the media, the CPF, are running top cover for them and will continue to do so. And there are millions of people that will believe that false narrative. Their minds are not freed, and they're probably not ready to be freed. They want to take the blue pill and stay jacked into the matrix. La, 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 la. What I don't know won't hurt me. Actually, it will. Because you're on the ship just like the rest of us, and you might be below decks on the first level, and just because you don't want me to come downstairs and tell you the ship is sinking doesn't mean it ain't sinking. So sooner or later, all these people who have their heads in the sand will be awoken by events. Guaranteed. That's just history. Number 6. And I've talked about this already. It once again revealed the evilness of the mainstream media and shows how it is responsible for the Matrix. See the initial coverage of the tragedy for proof. Like they were saying that was some individual in the CK audience that discharged a pistol. And they were like, yeah, it's probably one of the audience members that did it. Again, blaming the people in attendance to the event. And other things. They've just spun it. I don't watch the CPF. I haven't. I get briefed on what they're saying by several sources. But I know how they operate. I know exactly how they operate. Instead of just seeking truth, explaining very objectively what happened, being honest about what happened, and letting people, their viewers, make up their own minds. They have not done that for decades. There's always a twist. There's always a propaganda motive in how they say things, how they headline things, the words they use, which are incendiary. They have a very inflammatory way about them, and it 100% supports a progressive Marxist ideology. I think a lot of people were red-pilled with how the CKA was covered. Why they weren't red-pilled before, who knows? Some people just take a long time to come around. But again, you could point to the media coverage of CKA if you want to ever know what the media is all about. And it's a very compartmentalized event. Instead of over a span of years, you can just say, look at what they said about CKA. I do hope that the real truth about the assassination will come out. I do have my doubts. Look at JFK. Have we ever had a true accountability of what happened with the JFK assassination? Have we had a true accountability and investigation in Butler, Pennsylvania on the attempted assassination of President Trump? No. Why? Why is that? Shouldn't we know times, dates, places, people? Nothing. All swept under the carpet. Number 7, it proves the metastasized evilness of the left. Charlie Kirk was a kind family man, a good husband who was murdered brutally in public, and yet millions will rise up in gleeful celebration. Many put out stupid videos cheering this tragedy. These videos will never be forgotten. That's another reason why CKA will never be forgotten, because some people on the left may have said, well, listen, this is what they should have said. They should have said, listen, this does not represent us. We do not support this. We didn't agree with Charlie Kirk, but we absolutely do not support how this was handled. We do not believe in murdering people, murdering even our political opponents. That should have been across the board. Had the left in unison, including the media, said that, it would have gone a long way to calm down the situation and to diffuse the points I'm making right here. But because they didn't do that, and because they leaned into, yeah, he deserved what he got. That's essentially what all these videos are saying. These Twitter X posts, YouTube videos, these people in so many words are gleefully celebrating the murder of a father and a husband in broad daylight by taking a bullet to the jugular.
If you were gonna get the job done, there were 2 better candidates.
I have a feeling this video just put you on a few watch lists.
Furthermore, when that happens, and it will, it will, not only will we be insensitive, that'll be the least of your worries. But it's gonna be the biggest fucking celebration.
There's the difference between me and you, all of us and all of you. We don't wish horrible things on people. We don't want that to happen to any of you or any of your leaders.
How evil do you have to be? I said in a previous video, let's just say that the tables were turned. And let's say there was a very prominent leftist who was very influential, speaking to kids on campuses. He was beloved, and everything he said I disagreed with. But let's say he took a bullet. Would I be gleeful about that? No. Freaking Unicef flies. I support free speech, and you have to as well to be consistent. That free speech needs to be protected, and you shouldn't do something as totally horrific as assassinating someone who's engaging in that right, whether they're on the left or whether they're on the right. It's wrong, and it leads to very bad things. It could lead to more violence, much worse violence, because then when people say, well, I can't say what I want to say, I'll get assassinated, or potentially could be, some people could take it to the next level and say, well, I don't have anything to lose. No, I think most of us would have said, hey, listen, that does not represent us in the constitutional conservative movement. We do not support that having happened, and we will mourn with you. I think that's what most of us would have said. We wouldn't rise up, dancing a jig, laughing about it, carrying on about murder, about brutal murder in front of everybody. Remember, those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. And the angels in heaven keep record. So if you are like that and you welcome murder, you cheer it on, be careful. Karma's a real bitch. It's a real bitch. It has a way of just exacting the very life philosophy that you yourself, and I'm not talking you, but in general terms, advocate. So if you advocate peace, love, forgiving, God-based righteousness, probably you'll have the same thing returned to you in life. But if you are brutal, uncaring, harsh, evil, violent, wicked, that too shall be returned to you. It's just the law of heavens, bro. It's the law of heaven. So these people, some of them, when they were busted, they started deleting their videos. There's websites out there right now that has recorded all these. People are having problems keeping their jobs after saying this and gleefully gloating about Charlie's murder. It's gotten ugly, and it may get much uglier. Again, this video, I don't really know what's coming in the future as far as the events, but I'm trying to be broad and make it time durable. Number 8. It shows again the left seeks to compete in the arena of bullets, not the arena of ideas or peaceful debate. Again, a week, 2 weeks ago, if you would have said this, it would be highly debatable. I mean, you could bring up all the transgender mass shooters. As far as I know, most of them have been transgender, raging leftists. So there's a lot of evidence there already. Hang on a second. A lot of evidence already that is the case. But now you have CKA. Now you have the Charlie Kirk assassination. Again, I feel that it's a clear-cut example of a political assassination, and I think you do as well. That he was murdered for being effective at what he did. We cannot have this. We will not accept it. And we are willing to engage in assassinations, even in broad daylight, to make sure we send a message to anyone else who feels like he can go to a college campus and red pill these individuals who we have enslaved, at least in their minds. How scary is that they have opted to go into the arena of bullets and use that terminology when you discuss this event? That is a very bad place to be. I don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. Nobody in their right mind wants to be there. Nobody in their right mind wants to go into civil war, wants to go into without rule of law. We love peace. We love rule of law. We will work through the political process as long as we possibly can. That may one day come to an end. I don't know. But when you start shooting your political opponents, damn, the gloves come off. And there's a lot of people already posting like the gloves are coming off. They are fed up. Even days and in the weeks to come, you may think a lot of this will settle down. People are emotional. Yes, there is some of that. But I think this sentiment about how people are just absolutely outraged at the CKA will continue for years and years and years, perhaps even decades. They want to compete in the arena of bullets, not in the arena of ideas or peaceful debate. It shows how vacuous their arguments are. They don't have arguments. And Charlie revealed that time and time again. They don't have any arguments. They have anger, name-calling, more name-calling, false accusations, and that's about all they had in their quiver of debate. And Charlie just deconstructed all of that calmly, logically, and usually the person would just storm away. If they were like in the Matrix, didn't want to be free, they just storm away, calling him a racist or a Nazi or something like that. And on it would go. We're much better to talk. We're much better as a society if we have debates, even heated debates, as our forefathers did. This is nothing new in the United States. But keep it in the realm of discussion. Keep it in the realm of talking. CKA proved they're not going to do that anymore. That we're winning. They cannot compete in the area of logic and debate, so they're going to compete with bullets. The CKA created a vacuum that is being filled with enraged Americans that will no longer waste time in debating. I already said that, and I had a link in my tweet. And I may interject some videos that show guys saying that. They're done. They're like, you killed our moderate dude. You killed the guy that was willing to discuss with you, that was willing to take a middle position. And I honestly feel that CKA was a pretty moderate individual in most of the issues, if not all of them. And I don't know where he stood on everything. I don't know. But they killed that guy. So what does that do to people who maybe were moderate in the cause? It's going to drive them farther to the right, farther to the arena of anger. That's where we are as a country. Number 9, Charlie Kirk was a man of God. And that's a bold statement. I mean, and as I read this, I ask myself, am I a man of God? What constitutes a man of God? How do I live my life to be a man of God? Well, I've said this in other videos. I will say it here. I think it basically means that you strive to do, I got to kill this fly if he lands again. You strive to do what Jesus Christ would do in a given situation. Doesn't mean you're perfect. Doesn't mean you do it every time, but you just strive to do so. Again, I didn't know CK that well, but from what I saw, he looked like an individual that did that. That we routinely choose good over evil. We routinely live our lives as to be accountable to a supreme being, God the Father. We repent when we've done things wrong. We ask for forgiveness for those things and pick ourselves up after sinning and try to do better. We look for those who are weaker than us, that are worse off than us, and we seek to lift them up as Jesus Christ did. That is a man of God. I hope everyone watching this video who will be dialing into this video can be called a man or woman of God. I wrote this too. This is still point 9. He will be just as powerful, if not more so, in death. And I wrote that on the 11th of September, one day after Charlie Kirk's murder. And lo and behold, we are seeing it. We are seeing that spiritual awakening. We are seeing people go back to church, turning to God. We are seeing people that for whatever reason were not paying attention to the political scene in the United States, and now they are. Now they are very much paying attention because they realize, even them, that it was a political assassination designed to destroy free speech. And even some opponents to Charlie Kirk, not everybody's celebrating his death, even some people on the left who actually really aren't on the left. They've just stayed in the same position. And the party of the left has just continued to go more that way. And for whatever reason, they've stayed with it. And some have woken up and just say, listen, I'm not here anymore. I'm going to go to this side. And they don't want nothing to do with it. They don't believe, they don't support political assassinations. Any normal person would not. He will be more powerful in death than he was in life. That is an amazing statement. You can say that about great people throughout history. And I think this will be proven the case with Charlie Kirk. He was a martyr in the cause of Jesus Christ. No amount of evil can ever erase that or change it. This too will influence millions of people to goodness. That was my point 9. And it's my prayer that you and I can live a life like that. That we can influence people to goodness and also people to boldness, to stand up and fight when the time is right to fight, to oppose evil when it's necessary to oppose evil. So many people go about their lives. They don't want to deal with it. They just, going to the lake, working their jobs, paying bills, dealing with family issues. And they're like, I have no bandwidth left for politics. And I say, bro, you live on the earth just like I do. Again, you're in the hold of the ship just like I am. You have to help me. You have to help me keep this ship afloat, this grand experiment of freedom we call the United States. It takes a lot of work. It takes vigilance. It takes an informed, smart people to maintain a republic founded as it has been. And so far, to be completely honest, we are losing greatly that republic. And I hope it turns around. Number 10, this event absolutely destroyed any leftist hope of registering our guns and of people registering their guns and ever giving them up. No amount of laws or threats will ever change that. That's another reason I think the CKA event will always be remembered. I think it's more powerful than the Ruby Ridge incident. The Branch Davidian compound in the 90s, I think it's more powerful than that. I think people, after seeing this and how weapons are being used against people that oppose their opinions, I think people will never register their guns. You can pretty much forget it. So again, if their intent was to make a populace more docile, more compliant, to strike fear in their hearts, I think it's having the exact opposite effect. It has emboldened millions of people. It has made them, I don't want to say, there's a word I was going to say, I don't want to say that, but let's just say more staunch in their belief systems. They're not willing to do what Charlie Kirk did and, just spend hours upon hours upon hours debating and trying patiently to convince a moron to come to your side. Oops. Yeah. So good job, left. If your goal was to eventually ban assault weapons or bolt action rifles or whatever, pistols, good luck. CKA will always be pointed to as a reason why we have to keep our guns. Because the left, even though they preach against violence, they engage in it almost exclusively, even mortal violence. The momentum of this event cannot be restrained. It is the left's greatest mistake, is how I ended up that tweet. You can go there, copy it. And there's things I probably would have changed, but it's close enough. I like how it came out, and I think it's 100% correct in my own belief system. I wrote some other things that I want to end the video with, and I already talked about how the CPF is misrepresenting what's going on and saying, oh, it wasn't a leftist, it's actually someone from the right that did this. Right. I won't talk about that anymore. I did say the word they, and I don't want to mention names or specific chronological events tied to CKA because they're changing, they're morphing constantly. I am very reticent to believe the given narrative of a lone shooter. I've just been on the earth too long. I've been red-pilled in so many things. The amount of entrenched evil we have in the United States government and in other governments that could have been participating in this, I just don't believe it. That they somehow found this guy within 33 hours, a number which has a totally significant meaning, look it up, just seems hokey to me. It seems so prepackaged, so artificial. A lot of questions I have. I'm like, okay, and I haven't seen every piece of evidence. I haven't studied it. I did see some dude jumping off a roof. Where's his rifle? I mean, I saw something kind of like it, but being a gun tester, I know how guns break down. I know how heavy they are. And let me tell you, if you are trying to conceal a so-called bolt-action rifle on your person, it will be very noticeable. The only way it could be done is if you had something folding stock like a Sig Cross or something that is still heavy, still noticeable, but it's shorter in overall length. None of these questions were answered. The timeline questions have not been addressed. It should be minute by minute. There should be forensic evidence backing this up to convince a very doubtful audience like myself. AI image generation came into play. There's a lot of hokey, fake imagery out there. There's imagery showing the so-called shooter. I shouldn't say so-called. The guy they have in a Trump shirt, that's been shown that was artificial, made up, again, trying to release propaganda to the world. Millions have already seen that and believed it. Oh, it was a Trumper that shot. No, it wasn't. That was made up. In a world of AI AI produced videos, which are very hard to tell from the real thing. Same with photos. It's an easy way to sway people's opinions, and it is in full effect with CKA. I believe this was a planned event. I believe they have prepackaged ways they can dispatch people. Some can be very public like this, using a firearm. Some can be termed an accident. And if you knew is what I should say, how proficient these dark entities are in accomplishing unaliving, you would be shocked. All of them are turnkey. They can implement them at any time, anywhere they want. Nobody is safe. I'm not safe. You're not safe. Nobody is safe. They can get to anyone. No one is fully protected. Yes, I do believe this was planned. I could be wrong. Let me say that. I could be absolutely wrong. And again, if you give me evidence, strong, irrefutable evidence that is checked by third-party entities, not from the government, definitely not from the corrupt state of Utah and that moron Governor Cox. He's a complete idiot. Oh my gosh, I dislike that man so much. And that he took over the investigation. How is that even possible? He's like the main voice of what had happened. All he's trying to do is boost his own political image, probably put his hat in the ring for running for president. Do you think he really cared about the murder of Charlie Kirk? I would venture probably not.
That have been reported. We can confirm that again, according to family and people that we're interviewing, he does come from a conservative family, but his ideology was very different than his family, and so that's part of it. We do know that the roommate that we had originally talked about, we can confirm that roommate is a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female. So we know that piece. I will say that person has been very cooperative with authorities, and we have additional evidence, forensic evidence that has been processed. We'll be sharing that when charges are filed on Tuesday.
He's a leftist. Everything he does is as a globalist, to include illegal immigration. Loves it, loves it, loves it, loves it. No, the guy's a moron. I don't believe the narrative so far. Will I change? Doubtful, because I just don't trust. There's so many events that have happened, and I've said this before, usually the conspiracy is going to be proved correct. I'm not saying a whack job like Martians came down. I'm talking about something that is irrational, proven by the alt-right online. And I said that in previous videos. I said, hey, wait till the conservatives, the true conservatives online get a hold of all the video evidence. You're going to see some stuff come out that was not discussed. I mean, I saw a video about, they're saying some pistol shooter actually did the shot. That's new influx. Don't know if it was AI generated. I don't know. Charlie's team failed him. Law enforcement failed him. The state of Utah, a corrupt blue state, failed Charlie Kirk. But mostly, Charlie's protective team failed him. They should have, at the very least, had people in high places. I'm talking about on roofs, even on a dang ladder with binoculars scanning the crowd. How hard is that? On radio saying, hey, I have a suspicious individual in Sector 5. Check it out. Oh my gosh, I have a gun, seek cover. You could have saved Charlie's life just with that simple precaution. Much better to have 2 Overwatch snipers pre-approved, preferably in a law enforcement agency, preferably not corrupted. Background check, make sure they don't have some ties to whatever organization. Holy cow, there's so much evil out there. It's amazing. They could have protected Charlie. He should have had a bulletproof screen around him, bulletproof glass. I know it's kind of cuckoo, but the Pope has it, right? Presidents have it, and Charlie had multiple death threats, even at UVU. Yeah, I think to call his team heroes on any level is a complete misnomer. I think these guys were morons. I think they fell asleep at the job. I think they were lulled into a sense of safety by the so-called awesome state of Utah. How did that turn out? I did mention this. I'm going to hit it again. It killed the moderate movement in the conservative cause. I don't think there's going to be a lot of conservative dudes that will term themselves moderate. If they are, I would be surprised. Maybe I'm wrong at this. By the way, I want you to consider the CKA, the second assassination. This is huge what I'm saying. I hope you're paying attention. The first assassination was President Trump. Same entities, says me, did this. Same entities. If it wasn't the exact same entities, they're in the same communications network. I'll say that. They're discussing things with each other. They're making decisions together in the Star Chamber. Says me. I could be completely wrong. That President Trump turned his head the way he did is the only reason he is alive, and it was an act of God. There's one of those rare events where God interceded to prevent disaster. And I do believe that was a rare event. It was a miracle that Trump did what he did, and his head was not blown off. But you need to consider that event as an effective assassination. Don't say, oh, it wasn't, it was just a fluke where it didn't pan out. Why haven't we then got into a realm of people wanting payback? And I'm not advocating that at all. I'm just looking across the landscape. I think the real reason, some people are for instance, in social media, they're saying, well, we're God-fearing, we believe in peace, we believe in rule of law, and all that's true. It absolutely is true. But I think the real reason that you haven't seen any real anger, large demonstrations, and just out and out retaliation for CKA is because people have jobs and they're protecting those jobs. That's why. But if the economy tanks, and I've said this before, if the economy tanks and people lose their jobs for whatever reason, look out. Because the gloves on the right will come off and they will have nothing to lose. And again, I'm a lover of rule of law. I will advocate rule of law, peace, harmony, love, debate over violence every single time. But I'm just telling you what I see and what I know about society. When the economy crashes, or if those individuals are canceled for whatever reason, watch out. I love how quickly they caught the dude. It just seems so manufactured. They found a rifle in the woods. Sounds so set up. They found inscribed shell casings. Sounds set up. It's just BS. Everything just sounds BS to me. By the way, I have criticized Utah a lot, and I think it is deserved. I think Utah is full of people who have their head firmly up their ass. They consider themselves conservatives, but they do not participate in the political movement effectively. They voted for this moron, Governor Cox, because they were told to do so. They march lockstep in line with entities that tell them how to think and feel. They're not critical thinkers. They're definitely not defenders of good. They're not seekers of truth. Most of them were vaxxed, got the clock shot 1, 2, 3 times because they were told that it was safe and effective. That's the kind of people that are in Utah. Well, a lot. They're just morons. That being said, and I want to be fair to the state of Utah, there are a lot of great people in Utah as well. True patriots that are raging conservatives, that are true constitutional conservatives. And this was made manifest in just these amazing truck vehicle convoys celebrating Charlie's life. And this happened in the state of Utah, probably in your state as well. So I want to take my hat off and salute those guys for doing that. I think it is totally awesome. If I had been available, I knew about them, I would totally have been there. I was out of state at the time. So we have a lot of great people in Utah, and I want to I want to acknowledge that, and I want to thank them for their awesomeness, that they are standing up for Charlie, they're standing up for good, and they're just not backing down. Thank you so much, and I say that with all heartfelt gratitude. Thank you. Talked about the spiritual death we felt. Talked about what I've termed secret combination in the society. They're very hard to root out. Who are they? What are they composed of? I think you know. I think you know. I think you know who's behind this. It's not too hard to find out. Watch Mark Dice, listen to Salty Cracker, read Epic Times, The Guardian, Tim Pool, and I won't say any of these information sources are 100% correct. But if you go to these alternate, more pure information sources, you'll have a better view of what we are facing. And And that, I think, is what has happened to the FBI, that we have Kash Patel, Dan Bongino in there, and yet we have not had really a reckoning to the FBI. I think the whole organization needs to be deleted and just deleted. Just get rid of it. All the FBI should be undone, start all over. And that organization also will become corrupt just like our FBI did. But I think the evil is so entrenched and so adept at hiding their trails, what they've done, how they do it. It's going to be very, very hard to root it out. I think the best way is for us as a nation to turn to God, just like Charlie Kirk wanted us to do, just like his example led us to do, and be as righteous as we possibly can, repent, and just believe in Christ. I think that is really the way that you root out and destroy these evil organizations. There's been evidence come out that I think right after the Charlie Kirk assassination, they voted on not releasing the Epstein files. There's a conspiracy out there. Maybe not a conspiracy, maybe just revealing the truth.
Let me tell you, if you are not a conspiracy theorist by now, it's because you are not intelligent. I am not kidding.
About how this was planned so they could do that without anybody noticing. It's a whole different topic, not getting into it. The amount of evil out here is just amazing. And like I said, if we knew the depths of it, I think we would lose absolute confidence in our government. Yeah. What's the future of Turning Point USA? Again, I don't really know much about the organization. I didn't follow it. Ben Shapiro, I heard, was trying to take over it. I don't really like Ben Shapiro. There's a lot of things he says that I absolutely disagree with. I think he is an intelligent person, but there's several key issues. I think he's a sellout. So I would never support him, ever. There's better ways I can spend my money, I think. That's it. I got to wrap it up. So now, man, that went long. That's how I feel now. So some of these events may turn on a dime. There may be new evidence come out that I don't have when I film this. But I think the overall message of this video is pure. I think the event of CKA, as I have set out, will be very memorable. I think it is a pivotal moment in our history. Not to overplay it, but I think it is rational to say there's pre-CKA and there's post-CKA, because it really exposed the left for what it is. I don't see them reforming. I see them embracing this incident, celebrating it, wanting more of it. There are thousands upon thousands of videos calling for more lethal violence against you and I because we don't agree with them, because we don't believe in transgenderism. We don't believe in cross-dressing our children. We don't believe in pedophilia. We don't believe in giving up guns. We don't believe in high taxes. We don't believe in a corrupt government. We don't believe sending millions, billions of dollars to foreign governments that are corrupt. On and on and on. They want you shot for those belief systems because they've been educated by certain entities. That's what they should believe. And Charlie Kirk, of all people, was cracking through that brainwashing, and they just would not allow that to continue. And they did it at a big cost, though. I still say this is their greatest mistake. So hang on. I think we're going to see some crazy stuff in the future. I hope it's peaceful. But again, what goes around comes around. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. I'm just telling you how history's gone in the past. I have been very gratified to see that so far it has been very peaceful. There has been no violence, and I much prefer it that way because I like being with my family. I don't like getting shot at. I don't want a bullet going through my neck. I don't want a bullet going through your neck. We want the arena of debate to continue. We want a peaceful resolution for this republic. That's what I've always advocated. I've always told my viewers, don't hasten the day. So for many years, I've been doing this for 19 years. There's been people in my project going, let's go to MCW. I'm like, slow your roll, bro. Life is still pretty good. You really don't know what you're talking about, how ugly this can be and how many millions of people will suffer because of it. And there's no going back when that lid or the stopper on the genie bottle is pulled. Getting the genie back in the bottle is going to be very difficult. And I will maintain that position even now after CKA. This is Nut and Fancy, Lieutenant Colonel Nut and Fancy. Thank you so much for your kind support through all the years. I'll definitely post this on Rumble. I'll try to post it in YouTube, but YouTube, again, is hitting me with channel strikes. They do not like my content. They are finally getting serious about it. I cannot even post on the A channel right now. It's crazy days, man. And their numbers have never been correct over there. They've basically locked my subscriptions for the last 10 years. Like, they haven't gone up in 10 years. Like 10,000 is all? Over a decade? Really? Yeah, they're horrible. Horrible. There you go. So I'll see you hopefully in the Patreon Clubhouse. Join there. I'll see you there. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Be a paying donor over there. And I pray for this country. I pray for you. And I pray that peace will reign over this country. We'll see you.